Hello and welcome to another episode. So, in my previous Brad's Best Dumps video, I showed you a Nintendo Wii U kiosk that I found at the GameStop dumpster. I started to work on it and I was taking pictures in the process and I didn't have my video camera out, and then I started feeling guilty for not filming it. So I'll walk you through the basically the first few hours of this thing through a slideshow, and then we'll get into some actual video on hooking up some LED lights and what have you, basically just wrapping it up. So bear with this, and here is the slideshow of the Wii U kiosk as I found it, and I'll walk you through some of my maintenance stages, you could call it, I guess. So let's get into it. Okay, so this is the first photo. As you see it there, it was just covered in snow outside of the dumpster, on the ground, lying on its back, buried pretty much. It's been completely gutted. The front door has been removed, and basically to get this thing in my car I had to disassemble it, which was a pain in the ass. Anywho, and behind the dumpster, lying on the ground, I've just propped up the Wii U display there on the back of the dumpster so I could get a better shot of it. And the front door was back there as well. That display for the top is bent and scratched to high heavens. So I was hoping to bend that back into shape and get all the pieces put back together. So it was in parts. I unloaded it from my car, and I get a little bit of water in the basement once in a while, so I wanted to take it off the floor. So what I did, which also made it easier to move, is I put some casters on the bottom. I measured out some holes, and I had some casters that I could put on there. And then after I got those on, I went and cleaned up some of the metal pieces and the glass tray display that covers the Wii U in the kiosk when it's sitting there. And then yeah, there it is back on the stand, pretty stripped down at this point. It's just the Wii U framing basically on the caster installed base now. And then I started to put on the back pieces and more of the protective covering. As you can see, it's coming together much nicer at this point. I was missing the screws for the front door, but I did find some that actually fit, so I was able to get that back on. So here is the LCD display, and there's a giant hole in the top there towards the upper right, if you can see that. It just had a giant gouge in it. It was basically filled with water. The screen is destroyed at this point, and my idea as to what I could do with this is basically gut it and find a screen of some kind. But the little lady gave me the idea of using my my bench display for a replacement monitor. And I got to measuring, and it actually fits in the metal framing almost perfect, and I was pretty excited about that. I'll just have to get a new display monitor for working on stuff, but I will make the sacrifice to make this kiosk live again. So yeah, I basically gutted the frame out, took out the old screen, and just set down my Vizio monitor, my 32-inch, just to see how well it would fit in there. And I measured out the spacing all around to make sure none of the television branding would stick out around the bezel, so that fit in the frame quite nicely. And I was just trying to figure out how would I get that in there properly. And what it ended up doing is I took a couple of the screws that were installed in the old broken screen, and they actually fit on the back mounts of the Vizio panel. They were the correct threads, correct length. It was like it was almost meant to go in there. So it was pretty awesome. I mean, these screws didn't come from a mounting bracket in the back. It was more of side screws to hold in the framing, but they work for this. So looking at the back there, those 4 little holes that you see, the mounting brackets on the inside of the Vizio screen basically just unscrewed, leaving these holes there. So what I did is I laid down the back panel inside of the metal framing, and that gave me a perfect location and a centering guide for me to drill holes into the metal back plate for my Vizio television to mount into. So I just used the the back casing of the Vizio basically as a template for drilling some holes. So then I unwired the speakers and the power button, and I routed them through the bottom of the TV display just so I could send them out of the framing so I could wire up the speakers to the external speaker ports, the speaker wiring from the Vizio to the external speakers, and I could mount the power button outside of the bezel so I could have access to turn it on and change inputs and what have you. So that worked out pretty well. And the TV sat a little lower. It wasn't flush or level with the existing framing for the Wii U Kiosk. So what I ended up doing is basically super gluing down a couple bolts for each hole just to give me extra height, which made it nice and flush and kept the screen high enough for me to actually run HDMI cables from the back out through the bottom. So I also, with that in mind, I wanted it to be kind of a universal kiosk. So if I wanted to have some friends over and maybe hook up PlayStation 3 or original Nintendo, I could just use the kiosk base basically as a console station. So I ran, the RGB out and some audio out from the television so I can, add a subwoofer to that kiosk station, because they did come with a subwoofer, but unfortunately the subwoofer was not there when I picked it up from the dumpster. So if anyone else is wanting to know what I used for a television, it is the E320-B2 Vizio, and that fits perfectly with inside of the Wii U kiosk framing with the proper measurements. It was excellent that worked out for me. So that's just a shot of the bottom of the screen there. I ended up pulling the wires through the bottom and had my TV mounted in there. So then I, put it up on the kiosk station. We're almost there. So what we'll do at this point basically is I need to hook up all of the console cabling, the LED lights, and get all the power connected, and hopefully we can get this kiosk back in working order again. Well, as best it can anyway. So let's get into some pulling apart and reconfiguring some wires and see if we can't get the kiosk back in working action. Okay, so this is the current state of the Wii U kiosk. I've run all the wiring just into the bottom cabinet there. I haven't managed anything yet. It's very sloppy. I had basically set the Wii U on its little pedestal. The pigtail you see there is what the kiosk game console gamepad would have been connected to, but 99% of the time they just cut those off along with the original Wii controllers. So they just cut the cables and leave it hanging. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the pigtail yet. I'll probably just remove it and leave some kind of socket there. But as you can see, I have my Vizio screen mounted nicely in the framing, and the Wii U sign for the top has been somewhat bent back into shape. It is scratched up pretty good there. I need to add LED lighting because one strip on the back is intact, the other side is not. So instead of just replacing one side, I'm going to replace all the LED lighting that illuminates this, just so the colors match, and there's no weird like off lighting on one side as opposed to another. So I'm going to get into getting the new LED strip installed and hopefully wired up so you can see what's going on here. So yeah, this is basically the plastic encased LED strip lighting that was in the back. The other side is completely shattered and all the LEDs inside are broken. So I'm going to replace this with some regular double stick tape blue LEDs to replace these that illuminate the sides of the kiosk. So I'll be using this reel of blue LEDs. These you can cut at whatever lengths you want, basically, and they come in a little spool, which is convenient. And yeah, I'm just going to replace all the, like I said, the lighting with this spool of blue LEDs. And this is 5 meters long. It should be plenty to do what I need it to do, and it was like $8 on eBay or something for yeah, 16 feet, 5 meters, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to get to sticking these in the back, in the sides, and all that fun stuff. Yeah, I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but basically there's some strip lighting underneath here that I'm just going to run around. See how it goes between those metal spacers that held on the old plastic mounted LEDs. I'm just going to come around the side and up the back, going in between those little spacer brackets. So I'm just going to keep removing the tape on the back here and run those lights all the way up. Okay, so I have the strip lighting all installed along the edges in the back and down both sides. And I've connected all of my wires to a power strip. I don't know if you can see it back there, but it's nicely wedged into this section here. There's a nice little space, and my power strip just so happens to fit perfectly in there. So I have the Wii U gamepad charger, the console power supply, the LED lights, and the external hard drive rigged up, which I have wired under the Wii U system, lying on its back just under there. I have modded this system so it can play backup games, so that way I don't have to pull the case apart or just take off this the glass case that goes here to access games. Yeah, so just for a little tip here, for the door, I didn't have the key for the lock, so what I did is I just added some hard drive magnets to both the latch side and the door side, right there. So yeah, I just took the hard drive magnets out of their little frame, and obviously they're gonna grab onto that metal door, and then when you shut it, it just kind of snaps shut because of the magnetism. So yeah, there's the setup there. I put all the extra parts down in the bottom because they're actually because I collect video games and what have you. We have the each part has a NOA part number on it, Nintendo of America. So technically those are all official Nintendo parts. That's just how nerdy I am. So I'm gonna fire this thing up now and show you what it looks like. Okay, so there it is, all lit up and running. I think it looks pretty good. I have the Wii U sensor bar in there, and that little slot in the bottom here, right in here, where it should go. I've got the gamepad all hooked up. I took that little pigtail thing, and my brother had an idea of just tucking it up in there for now, so I did it. But yeah, there it is. I'm all set up and illuminated. I don't know if you can tell, but the LED lights that are on the inside here seem to be a little more green than the ones I have in the back, but I don't really care so much. It's all functioning at this point, and it's pretty sweet, I think. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it came out. So to basically shut everything off, under here, after I turn off the console, I have a that red power button back there. I just flick it, and it shuts down everything. But yeah, I'm pretty excited that I was able to pretty much save this from the trash. It's definitely a cool piece to have in the game collection. The top bezel here is, you know, dented up and has some scratching, which isn't too bad depending on the angle. But yeah, that is it. I'm pretty excited. So that's that. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more episodes. They'll be coming sooner than later, hopefully. But yeah, that's it. That's the GameStop Wii U kiosk. These have kind of been, you know, they've been popping up here and there online. So here's mine. I did what I could to get it running, and I hope you enjoyed the video. So if you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe, and if you have any questions, comments, leave them below. And until next time, we'll see you later.